Hey everyone. Happy evening, happy Monday evening from Northern England. So, um, for 8 minutes at handover, you compress 12 patients' lives into exactly what the next nurse needs to keep them safe. Hi, I'm Coach Rod. I help nurses, doctors, and allied health across the US, UK, and Ireland turn the skills they already have at the bedside into a career in digital health without leaving the meaning behind. And tonight is about the most undervalued skill you own, the one almost nobody outside healthcare even know exists. So drop me a one in the chat if you've ever given a shift report, and drop a two if you've ever felt like the system you work inside was built by people who've never given one. So, but back before nursing school, back before all of this got started, I was in nursing school. I was working nights. I'd never, had a real shift before. I was only doing my clinicals. Um, I didn't come from money, so I needed to work, and I was working nights at a local cell phone company because if I didn't work, I wasn't going to get to eat. And even with all that work, I still ended up being like 40 grand in debt, living in a trailer in Auburn, counting every dollar for food and gas, trying to hypermile my car to get the most, out of every tank. On the night shift at my employer, they had us retype thousands of customer records into a new system by hand, one field at a time, off one of those wide fan fold dot matrix kind of printouts. They just hand you like 3 inches or 4 inches, something like that, and you just open one page at a time and move everything and move everything. The customer service team, had been grinding at it for months, um, just to look busy before the next promotion. I was on nights, and they wanted to prove that they were making good use of their night shift resources, blah 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 resources. Often it was just me, but me, I wanted to study. So I talked the day shift team into handing me the raw data as a CSV file, comma delimited, right? And I recorded all the strokes with a macro tool in 3.11, the keystrokes, the mouse movements, all the rest of that stuff that it took to get the stuff into the new system. I split that file across the 12 computers that were in the office and let it run overnight because I was the only one there. So, one person using 12 different computers. By morning, those 12 machines had finished the rest of the project, which was 3/4 of what remained. The first quarter had taken the entire team months. That was my first proof of what happens when somebody who actually understands the workflow redesigns it around a tool. That got me to $12 an hour. Food, gas, rent, and a little bit left over for the first time. For me, then, at that point in time, it was everything. That was just plain automation, not AI, but a good instinct. And the instinct underneath it is the one I want to talk about tonight. You see the work clearly, you can change it for everyone who comes after you. Years later, I watched that exact instinct rebuild communications for an 1,800 person program, and the blueprint came straight off the ward. So here's the thing about Shift Report. In 8 or 10 minutes, you compress a complex, high stakes situation into exactly the words that the next person needs: what to keep, what to leave out, how to keep the patient safe, even as you walk out the door. That's one of the most refined communication tools in all of healthcare. And almost nobody outside of healthcare knows it exists. The gap between what you know in your hands and what digital programs are still learning the hard way has never been wider. But look what happens when that instinct gets in the room. A 9 site NHS trial of AI scribes, 17,000 encounters, gave clinicians 23.5% more time looking at the patient instead of the screen, with shorter appointments and 92% of patients happy to take part. In Greater Manchester, an electronic palliative care record now means 86% of people die in the place they choose, against 44% without it. Those aren't software wins. They're clinical instinct written into a system by somebody who had lived the work. So the question for every one of you tonight is this. If outcomes only move when a clinician is in the room, why is it still so rarely you? Yeah. Therefore, the thing that gets you into the room isn't a coding course. It's the habit you already have every shift. Handover, closed loop communications, the 5 rights, cross checking. Each one of those is a flagship software feature waiting to be written down. Shift report isn't a soft skill, it's system architecture. You've been carrying the design pattern these programs are desperate for. You just never called it that. And the roles are open now, hiring for exactly this judgment. NHS trusts are recruiting clinical informaticists into the federated data platform and AI rollouts. US systems want implementation clinicians and digital clinical safety officers. And Ireland's HSE just moved its national health record, a 5.3 million people effort, 160,000 staff into procurement, with clinical input built into the program by design. I don't care which vendor or which AI sits underneath it. The clinical instinct, knowing which conversation, which workflow, which small change moves the needle, that sits above it all. And that's the part they can't hire out of a tech team. Therefore, the move this week is small. Pick one of your habits that you do every shift. If it were software, would it be a flagship feature? Write it down. Write it down in plain English, as if teaching someone who's never set foot on a ward. That one page is your first piece of digital health intellectual property. Then map it to a gap you can already see. Does the EPR have a closed loop equivalent? Does discharge carry a real handover step? Does the AI scribe template hold the shape of an S-bar? And have a conversation, not 100 LinkedIn requests. 1. Ask a digital lead which clinical instinct turned out to matter most. I promise the answer sounds a lot like Shift Report. It's always, always something that people think is just straightforward. Here in England, I've used the handover report, the handwritten report that people would use as a template, where they would actually just write out the whole template, fill in the whole template. We use that as the handoff for this massive first project here. We're able to automate it. We're able to get it out to everyone. We're able to critique it because it could be better now that it was in digital form. And we did all of that before we went live with it, so that everybody could be happy with it, everybody could have their input. So you might be thinking, but I don't have anything special to offer. You give Shift Report. Most software teams would kill for that skill and have never once seen it done well. They have no idea. Think about the first time you did it, how nervous you were, right? That's where they are. They have no paradigm. Won't AI make clinical people redundant? Yeah. Every outcome we just talked about happened because a clinician was in the room. AI raised the value of your judgment. It didn't replace it. Isn't legacy for people at the top? No. Legacy here is the discharge workflow, the scribe template, the palliative record, quiet changes that nobody's naming. You're closer to it than you think. Real legacy in healthcare isn't the splash, it's the ripple. The workflow running in 90 hospitals with nobody's name on it, and you already know how to make that ripple because you've been doing it in 8-minute bursts your whole career. When you're ready to talk, rodgamble.com is where to find me. Next week, we'll move back on to Pillar 1 and talk about a calendar of your own. See everyone next week. Have a great time. It's dinner time here in England.